Today is Monday, September 28th, 2020. This is the Kubernetes CSI implementation meeting. So let's go down our status. First up is wrapping up 119. So let's see, we have an outstanding item to update the snapshot controller in our CI. Xing, will you have time to take a look at this?
I will submit the PR. Let me, I will ping you afterwards. Take a look and see if that has everything included. Let me actually put that in your Slack.
Sounds good. I'm also planning on updating the Kubernetes CSI doc pages with all of the new sidecar versions and change logs and stuff like that. That should get done this week. In terms of sidecar releases, I think we're all good except for CSI proxy. I'm going to ping Jing again on if we can make progress on this. And then the last thing that I'm doing is I'm adding the new 119 CI jobs. And there's a couple of outstanding issues. I think one thing is we need to update the kind version. I think building custom node images in 119 and master require a new kind version. The other thing is there was something else I had to change. Anyway, I have a PR out for that. So hopefully after those two issues are resolved, then our CI will be looking okay. I was fixing the Canary CI. That's what I was doing.
So what are we going to do with the Canary? Will this be published? Will we have like a image like what we have before for Canaries in the new repo?
So what I'm doing is I'm changing our CI job to use the Canary images in the staging repo.
Okay.
And presumably at some point we'll make sure that these images actually get refreshed, right? Or
yes,
are also getting refreshed for repositories that haven't been updated in a while, because that's the current risk we are running.
Yes, we need to do that sometime in the next 30 days.
Yeah. Or keep updating all of our repositories.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I have an item on the 121 to track periodically repushing these Canary images. So we'll have to work on that in the next cycle. All right, so that's remaining for 119. For updating the kind version, Patrick, would you have time to look at this?
I was too busy today. I might have time tomorrow. What's your expectation? When do you want that fixed? Besides, as soon as possible, of course.
Like it's not like a super urgent thing. It's just some of our CI jobs are going to be failing until it's fixed. Yeah. So ideally in the next week or two.
Yeah, but that's possible.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. All right. That's it for 119. Is there anything else regarding 119? All right, moving on to 120. Feature freeze is next week, which means that all the KEPs for the 120 milestone need to be updated and merged by next week. So I think this week will be all about getting those KEPs done. let's see. Hamant, you said there is a PR out for updating the KEP for FS group.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, awesome. I think Ben was working on data populators. He's not here. Okay, we'll have to ping him offline. There are a couple of bug fixes, PRs that are currently outstanding and they need some review. I guess once we're done with getting all these KEPs through, then we can go back to these. Let's see, volume expansion. Come on, do we have any new? I guess we're keeping volume expansion in beta, but are we? Do we need to implement anything new, like the recovery from resize?
I think I wouldn't have time to, like, the only thing I was thinking was to I have to open a KEP for the allow volume expansion field to be copied to PV. The recovery from this thing is, I think, is just like, I don't have a design that solves all the edge cases and like and gives back the quota back to the user yet. So
okay. So is the current thought that we'll have to handle like this quarter we'll concentrate on design for the recovery case?
yeah, I'll try to get the KEP for allow volume expansion today though. So, but
okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. Thank you. Let's see, next is volume health. I think we're still keeping this in alpha, is that right?
Yeah, staying alpha. Yeah, just
yeah. Okay, so no KEP needed.
No KEP, yeah.
All right, and then snapshots.
Yeah, so this one I just pinned the production readiness for them to get started.
Okay.
So Dave, yeah, and there's someone in that team. I think his name there. So he actually responded quickly, and he actually added a bunch of comments. So now I need to figure out how to answer his questions, because those questions are not easy to answer. I mean, you can use offline for some of those.
Okay.
I don't know how to answer, because some of those are like asking for some real metrics or something. I'm not sure. Have you gone through this with some other KEPs or anybody? Have you seen anybody else gone through
no,
this?
This is
brand new.
This is basically the first time that we're doing this, right? So
okay.
Yeah, this is going to be a learning experience for all of us. But
okay.
But yeah, we can definitely like sync up offline and see how we can answer some of these questions.
Yeah, some of those, like he was asking how many. Yeah, he was almost like asking for some real scenario, and also there was like you upgrade and downgrade. He wants us to be tested. Of course, we haven't already tested, but we can say we are going to test it in this release. I think we can probably say that he needed to have an acknowledgement that this was done. So I'm not sure he wanted it done before the KEP, and I think that we wouldn't have time to get it done in this week. But if it's just something that we will be doing it, then I think that's still possible.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay.
Because it will be part of like part of the graduation criteria.
Okay. Metrics, yeah.
So I think as long as we can plan for these things, then it should be okay. But I guess the only thing to consider is if they're asking for real metrics data, but we don't even have metrics yet, then we're not going to be able to.
Yeah, especially for the they were asking. Yeah, he was asking for something. I need to go through this again. A lot of questions. So
okay. Yeah. But I think basically the thing is, before we move something to beta, they want to make sure, hey, people are actually using it and it's actually working well for
before moving
those
to
people
beta.
that are
nobody using it before it's moved to beta.
No. To move it to GA, I mean.
Yeah. Even GA, a lot of people are actually not even sure about it's beta. So, but anyway, yeah. So I think that's the thing, right? But yeah, so I need to go through this and then let's see how we can fill all of this, and hopefully we can pass this.
Yep, yeah. Sounds good. All right. Let's see. So those are all the major features that I've been tracking. Is there anything else? I know, Patrick, you have the two.
Yeah.
Are you planning on?
I think not. I think for CSI, ephemeral inline volumes, there's a significant amount of work that would be needed to get it from beta to GA, even if we agree that this is the right next step. So I think that pretty much needs a champion who's interested in taking the current CSI ephemeral inline volumes to GA, and I don't plan that for 120. For generic ephemeral inline volumes, we still have open questions around the API, so I don't think it's realistic to do much work in this release cycle.
I mean, so we should at least then this cycle try to close on those issues so that next cycle we can graduate.
I think, well, yeah, I think we should definitely continue the API discussion. I tried by sending an email to the SIG storage mailing list, and I just got exactly one reply. So I think we'll need a meeting where we actually pull in people and get some answer or some opinion out of them that I'm not getting via email. But yeah, let's continue with that in parallel to this release cycle, but not plan for any kind of graduation, whether it's beta or GA for either of these two features. And the same with storage capacity tracking. I think this is a really short release cycle, so this probably needs a bit more time to sink in. What I plan to do is, and I've created project boards with the open issues. I'll probably start looking at some of these open issues that are part of the original design, and just need to be done at some point, and see whether I can get some of that work done this release cycle.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. And then for that, do you know, so I remember there was someone from like some project that was writing a local volume plugin. Do we know if they've had a chance to try out this alpha feature?
No, I don't.
Okay. It might be worth maybe trying to contact them and get them to try it out because basically, you know, we want a lot of people to try out the alpha and see if it works for them.
If it's so you're talking about a CSI driver that's purely local on a local node and doesn't have a central controller. That's actually this other line item that I added: external provisioner with without central controller. That is a new thing. That we had. It's unrelated to some extent with the other features for which we have a cap. This external provisioner without central controller is something that someone did in a tentative PR against external provisioner, and Michelle and I were both looking at that, and it kind of made sense, but that PR never got completed. For those who are not familiar with it, the underlying idea is that external provisioner gets deployed alongside a CSI driver on each node in the cluster. And then volume provisioning, if it's with late binding, is basically handled by that external provisioner by looking at that selected node field and deciding that, yes, this is a volume that I need to provision on this node where I'm running. And therefore, you can have multiple external provisioner instances that don't conflict with each other. At the time, I was a bit unhappy that immediate binding wouldn't be supported, because it basically felt like a gap. People might want it for some reason or might not realize that it doesn't work and accidentally run into it. And for PMM CSI, for project that I'm working on, we currently have a solution for immediate binding. And if we wanted to migrate to that new model, we basically have to have some solution for that. Otherwise, there would be a regression. So what I've done in the meantime, I've been experimenting a little bit more. And I have updated code that supports immediate binding and late binding. So I could take over that pull request and complete it. It's a question whether it actually needs a cap, for example. It's purely intended to be done in the external provisioner. So perhaps we don't need a cap. Not sure. The original PR didn't have one.
I would probably at least write down the general design for it somewhere, since it's a non-trivial design. I would probably just, I wouldn't do it in a new cap. I would maybe just extend an existing cap to add it.
Do you have an idea which one might be suitable for that?
Maybe the maybe the original CSI design when it was talking about all the different sidecars and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, that might be a good place. I'm not sure how much we want to go into the technical details, but I think I've wrote down all of that already on Slack in one mail thread or one chat thread that we had on this. My original idea was to have leadership election, but I think a simpler approach where for immediate binding PVCs, the external provisioner basically hash out among themselves who gets to take it by adding annotations or add one annotation. The one that actually manages to add that annotation is the owner, and then needs to finish the provisioning. That's what I've currently implemented, and it does have this thundering herd problem, but perhaps that can be solved by random delays or something. So
yeah, I'm concerned if, say, you have a 5,000 node cluster, and then with every volume you have 5,000 nodes all try to update it.
If that's the case, then perhaps just don't use immediate binding, and it's really just a fallback mode of operation that simply shouldn't be used, but is there for those who need it. Yeah, it's really a question of who needs it and for what. If we can always make up some edge cases where it doesn't work, but if that's not needed in practice, well, yeah, I don't know. This idea with adding an annotation to the PVC I immediately started thinking about other, perhaps more realistic cases where how this can break besides the 5,000 node issue. If that external provisioner becomes responsible for the PVC and then doesn't actually do the provisioning, we kind of have an issue that needs to be addressed. For example, the node goes down, then it would be nice if that PVC then could be handed over to some other instance. So that is the part where where I want to do more.
Yeah, I think this problem is complex enough that I think we need to we should open an issue to discuss it at least. I think we're gonna lose context in the Slack chat. So
that's fine. Yeah, we need some place to discuss that and write it down and so on. I fully agree. But that leads me to the other issue that I've encountered while thinking about this. External provisioner in the current situation, even if there is just one of them, if that instance starts provisioning, there's no record that it has started provisioning. And if it somehow dies before it gets the chance to create the PV, it basically loses a volume. And that's without any other changes.
Yes.
That's what can currently happen. And
that's if it dies and someone deletes it in the meantime.
Yes, and someone then deletes the PVC because it then won't restart, it won't try the create volume again, and it will basically never learn, or the new external provisioner will never learn that there was a volume created already in the storage driver. So I wonder what we can do about that. My proposal on Slack was to perhaps add a finalizer to the PVC and add some annotation that says the PVC is being worked on, and then basically we prevent deletion, and when it restarts, it knows that it needs to do some, well, I think that was my idea.
I think the PV also has to be deleted, right?
Well, the PV doesn't exist yet. That's the situation. We have a PVC. The external provisioner does a create volume call, and only if a create volume call succeeds, then it creates the PV. And it even has a work queue for that. So there is an even longer time, at least I think in some modes, it has a work queue for creating the PV. There's an even longer time window when the volume has been created, but the creation hasn't been recorded in the API server yet.
I wondered if you could create PV in the PV controller entry and let it be pending. And
yeah, I've also asked that, and I think Michelle said that no, we can't, or Jan said no, we can't do that. The expectation is that a PV, once it exists, is usable. It does have a not ready phase, but apparently that's for something else, or the expectation. The expectation simply is that if a PV exists, that I think Jan pointed out that the data source must be valid. So if you are still creating the PV, you don't have, I think, the data source field yet, and therefore you can't record details about your actual CSI volume, and you can't add that later on. So you can't mutate the PV to record that it exists. So I think that was the issue with that idea.
I think without really thinking too deeply about this, like a finalizer approach might work. We would just have to think through like how it would actually function, but the finalizer might be the best way.
Yeah. So I guess for the same issue here, we actually need an issue to discuss that problem and hash through a potential solution, and then we can just do a bug fix or some implementation work at an arbitrary time, because it's clearly a bug. Okay, so I thought I had created an issue, but apparently not. That probably needs to go into external provisioner. Or at least
sounds good.
It sounds like it's something that we can and needs to be solved in the external provisioner, and without involving core Kubernetes changes, because we don't want to change Kubernetes semantics like around the PV. If we can come up with a solution exclusively in the external provisioner, I think that would be ideal.
Yes, agree.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. Thank you very much. Any other topics?
One quick comment. I am attempting to get the FS group policy moved to beta in 120. The original CAP mentioned this graduation plan. I still need to update the rollback upgrade details, but the CAP itself, I believe, is fine.
Okay, sounds good. And then does Hamant's changes also impact that at all?
No, they're two separate topics.
Okay. I think one of the things was we were contemplating implementing the mount part of it. Is that right?
Yeah, I have updated my CAP with that detail, but I have explicitly made a note that we are not going to cover that in 120 because that's something you want to add it to 120 or 1 or something.
Okay.
Because until we know that if the CSI driver, how CSI spec, what's going to happen, it feels pointless to add it right now if we are not going to use it. Or we can add it and leave it sitting there. Do you want to do that?
Unsure. So yeah, let's we can sync up with API folks exactly on like the semantics of adding a new enum value and see what they say.
Yeah, that's covered in my CAP though. So.
Okay.
Cool.
Awesome. Anything else?
So the PR, the snapshot PR, also I modified the directory structure for both the validation webhook and the snapshot. So it's basically they make me to create 2 folders for them now instead of putting them together. But I asked them not to track the validation hook one because that one is completely auto tree, but only track this one.
I guess it's like
it's
the
getting very
validation
complicated.
stuff isn't like a separate feature, right?
Yeah, but since it has an issue, it was created as it's separate cap. That's a problem. You can't have.
But it doesn't need to be, right? Isn't it just an extension of the feature?
Yeah, but the release team couldn't recognize this type of organization, basically the folder structure, right? You must have this cap.yaml and readme in that folder. Now you have a third file there that does not fit that structure. That's why they say it's confusing. So yeah. So now they're separate, but then I say, well, why don't you just make this one auto trace? This way they don't have to go track that one, the validation one. They just focus on the snapshot one, at least. The snapshot one basically references the other one, but they are in separate two different folders now.
Okay, it's weird, but okay.
I know. I asked them. I said, "Hey, can we combine?" No. He said, "This is very confusing. They say in the existing one, both are not following the new format, basically." Okay, so now they are separate, but it's very now it makes it very confusing. If you just want to add something small, like you have to have a new issue, a new folder, right? Because there's no way for you to add another doc in that same doc. Or you can make the existing doc really, really huge. You can do that too, but then that's still, could be hard to read. So
yeah, maybe like later after we pass the deadline, maybe we should circle back with like SIG architecture on this, and if we can improve it, because
yeah,
at least I feel like organizationally it's better if all the stuff related to a feature are in one place.
Yeah, but then they have to change the template, because the template does not allow you to do that. Right, so they need to change the template, then we can do it. Without that, they just found it confusing. They don't know how to follow that. But
okay.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah, So I'm trying to answer the question. I will pin you later but also take a look of maybe I will send you the link so you can take a look of this structure, the both caps, except those questions. Let me go through those ones and then I'll pin you.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Okay, thanks.
All right. Any other topics? Okay, then we'll end for today. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.